Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Peace of Mind series. We have a wonderful speaker for you today. Actually, I met this lovely lady just by happenstance on LinkedIn. She has a wonderful podcast. There's some really great information, and it sort of collects donations, and those donations go to feed hundreds and thousands of folks. I would encourage you, and I'll let her give you that information in just a few minutes to get connected to that. There's wonderful resources available, lots of learning. I also had a chance to go, but she was at Pepperdine, and that was really amazing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Ms. Natalie. So she's a speaker. She speaks globally. She is very successful at marketing strategy. She's been in ADR, I want to say probably longer than me, Natalie. So hats off to you. She has her own company, Marketing Resolution. She's designed and developed hundreds of business development plans around marketing strategies for private practices and firms and educational institutions, organizations, just again, around the world. Her marketing seminar, the one that I love, Marketing Monday, and I'll let her talk a little bit more about that. And you all should definitely go get on LinkedIn. She received her certificate in mediation and arbitration from the Institute of Conflict Management and International Mediation from Tulane University School of Law and Humboldt University School of Law. She has over 150 hours of training nationally, internationally, in mediation and arbitration. Oh gosh, she has just a wealth of her background. Her professional education background is in conflict resolution, sociology, and criminal psychology. She was the vice president of our favorite organization, Schema. She was the chair of the membership committee. She's a member of the board of the London Club. She served on the board of the California Dispute Resolution Council. She served on the American Bar Association Dispute Resolution Section. She served as vice chair of the Practice Development Committee, as co-chair of the Standing Committee for Practice, Business, and Skill Development, and is currently vice chair on the Marketing Committee. So I'm going to let her talk to you about her Will Work for Food program, but here's this amazing lady. She has a wealth of information to share with you all. Please join me in welcoming, Natalie. I love just Natalie.
Thank you.
So Natalie, it's all yours.
Well, gosh, I really appreciate that lovely introduction. I've been doing this for 27 years now. And one of my favorite things, obviously, to do is to help people build their businesses in ADR. And you mentioned Will Work for Food. Everyone is invited to Will Work for Food. You can find upcoming programs at willworkforfood.news. These programs are free to anyone who wants to watch them. We record the vast majority of them and put them up on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube and simply search for Will Work for Food, you'll see more than 170 educational programs about the resolution industry. We hope that the program is valuable enough, you'll be encouraged to donate anything at all, your time, $1 or more, to your local food bank so that your neighbors, your family, your friends get the benefit of you getting this free education. So Will Work for Food. This is, last week was our 3rd year of doing Will Work for Food, and we've raised nearly $400,000 in donations to date, which is the equivalent of 4 million meals served to our friends and neighbors who have food insecurity. So you're welcome to join, welcome to watch, find us on YouTube and enjoy those programs. And then also, again, there's Marketing Monday. That is free. It is live and interactive Monday mornings at 8 a.m. Pacific. So you can find me on LinkedIn. And if you just click over to my profile on LinkedIn, you'll be able to watch me on a live interactive, essentially TV program. And it's just free advice like this, but every Monday morning. And you're welcome to make it interactive. They are recorded and then also put up on YouTube. So you can go back and look at the library of Marketing Monday videos absolutely for free as you see fit. So, but today let's talk about your practices and what you need to do. Renata mentioned that I lived on west side of LA for 16 years, really enjoyed my time there, got involved in all of those great groups, was able to volunteer downtown LA. It's just a really nice place. So I'm sitting in the Rocky Mountains, but I'm a little bit jealous of where you all are. Well, let's talk about your mediation practices. If you've heard me speak before, some of this will be new, some of it will be a repeat. But generally speaking, to build a mediation practice, if you're at it full time as a business person, as an entrepreneur, it's 18 months to 2 years to build a full-time practice. This isn't something that there's any sort of immediate gratification. It does take time. It does take effort. It does take tenacity and consistency. And there are a few things that I can help you with to make that transition, that business growth go a little bit more quickly, a little bit more smoothly. So also, I see that my internet is unstable. I apologize if it breaks up from time to time. We've got some really great storms rolling in across the Snake River right now. So to get started, like with any other business, it's a good idea to sit down and make a plan. Think about the kind of practice that you want to have. Think about the kind of clients that you want to have. And think about the best ways for you to reach those prospective clients. So if, for example, you want to mediate family divorce, parental custody kinds of cases, wherein there's no attorney present, so unrepresented cases, then your target market is going to be the general public. And in that case, you might want to narrow your neighborhood offerings so that you're not trying to reach everyone on the planet. Reach just those folks in Dominguez Hills, or just those folks in the Imperial Valley, or just those folks in San Diego, or just those folks in your neck of the woods. That'll make it a lot easier. If you're dealing with unrepresented clients, then as we're going through and setting up our practices, we want to meet them where they are. So think about where they congregate. Think about the sources of referral that they're going to use. So again, in unrepresented cases, you might want to have a presence on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. You can always have a presence on LinkedIn. For most of us who hear represented cases, LinkedIn is where we're going to live and breathe. Unrepresented cases, where you're talking to the general public, that's going to be maybe LinkedIn, but primarily Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, even Twitter. You want to meet them where they are. And then think about how you're going to connect with these people. It might be through a clergy person. It might be through a municipal official. It might be through a hairstylist. I did some marketing work with a mediator who wanted to just help people get through family crises and divorces and wills, estate, probate, that kind of thing. And so we put together a training in his city for all of the barber shops and salon owners, because when you're sitting in the chair and you're talking about, these are my concerns, these are my issues, these are my worries, the hairstylist is in the perfect place to say, you might think about mediation, and here's a card. So we did a training about how we as mediators can help those folks, what language we use, the fact that they don't need to be represented if they're not comfortable with that. They can have their family, you can be on Zoom so that their dog is in the room with them, all of those kinds of things. And we help them with some of the language skills that we use in the resolution industry, some of our verbal judo skills. So because of this training, his practice saw an increase of, I can't remember now, I want to say 38% within 60 days. just communicating with people who we are, what we do, encouraging them to give those clients of theirs a referral to our services. So when you're designing your practice, think about it could be an accountant, it could be a salon keeper, it could be lots of different places, a clergy person, any person that is in that sphere of trust. It could build and the people that you want to work with. And then you kind of reverse engineer it back to figure out what those points of contact will be. If you're going to hear represented cases, then you're primarily going to be networking inside bar associations with those representatives, counsel, advocates. That's where your primary points of contact are going to come from. They're the ones who will hire you as the mediator. So think about how you're going to reach those folks. For our industry, there are primarily 5 ways to get that done. You don't have to do all of them. You should definitely choose.
Hold on, I'm trying to text her and let her know we've lost her. And she's gonna ask my text, let me put in the chat. Oh, there she goes. I sent her a text as well, so she should hopefully rejoin. Of all days to have a storm, I tell you.
We lost her completely.
I know. I sent her a text, so hopefully she'll be
There
able
she
to
is. She's back in. There she is.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So we connect with our target market in essentially 5 different ways. You don't have to do all of them. Choose the one that you're most comfortable with, but those 5 very basic ways of connectivity are through writing, speaking, training, networking, and then we supplement all of those things by being present on social media. So writing, speaking, training, networking. Now, networking is, of course, the most valuable and sort of the one you can't really do without. And the reason is because people hire us when they have to know that we exist. 2, they have to like us, they have to know us, like us. And then most importantly, they have to trust us. And so anything that we can do to instill that trust in a prospective client is what we're aiming for in our practice development. They have to trust us. That is absolutely the key. So networking is the best way to make that happen. Creating those business relationships with people, right? Then that way they feel comfortable sending us referrals. That way they feel comfortable hiring us directly. Networking is absolutely key. Relationships, it's all about relationships. You can augment that and you can make creating those relationships training and being on social media, because all of those things will give you what is called social proof that proves to you.
Natalie, I don't know if you can hear me. I'll put it back in the chat, but we can't hear you. I'll text her again. Oh. I apologize. And I know she'll rejoin us, but I would encourage you all, if you get a chance, if you're an early riser, her Marketing Mondays, she has some of the top practitioners in the field and in various fields that, will share their insights on different types of cases, strategies that you can use. It's very interactive. And then the other podcast that she does, working for food, it's educational, it's all ADR. And you guys definitely, you just don't want to miss her. I mean, she's done some really
I
great
apologize.
work.
We had this much chat before. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was just telling them to make sure they connect with you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. So when we're talking about speaking publicly, we're talking about offering your public speaking to a bar association, to a chamber of commerce, to any group. And one of the best ways to find your particular groups is to go to directoryofassociations.com. And on directoryofassociations.com, there are thousands of associations and organizations that you can filter through, find your group, and offer them via a pitch package, which I'm happy to share with anyone that sends me an email, send me a DM, and I'll send you the template for it. But you send them a pitch package that essentially says, hi, my name is Tina Jones. I really appreciate the work that your organization does. I've seen several of your programs. I note that no one speaks to whatever it is, housing and eviction crises and how to manage housing units. I'd love to give a presentation to your members about that topic in particular. To hear or see or read other items that are on this same topic, click here, click here, click here, and then you give them in the materials and offer your services as the public speaker. The same is true for being a guest on a podcast, being a guest on a video channel, or submitting your article to be published. So you can use that same template pitch package to reach out to the organizations and associations, let them know that you're available. Public speaking is one of my favorites for you, though, because let's imagine that Anne puts forward a program to San Diego Bar Association. It's a great speech, 100 people in the room, everyone applauds, but to those individuals who have heard the right message at the right time, they're going to approach Anne at the podium and say, oh, that was exactly the right message at exactly the right time. Can you get me more information? Can you help me? Can we move things forward? Everyone else is going to think she's given a great presentation. It's just not the right message at the right time. So it's not a diss. It's just not the right message at the right time. So you want to be able to be that business person who is spending all of your time and energy talking to the people that have pre-qualified themselves as being a potential client of yours. And that's what public speaking allows you to do. Public speaking, I know it's not for everyone. I know a lot of people that are listening, their hands go clammy immediately when I say that. It's not for everyone. If you want to be a really good public speaker, you want to do this kind of thing, but you're maybe not so confident in your skill set, join the Toastmasters, get the practice, get the skill, and be the public speaker that you want to be. Toastmasters is an incredible resource. And public speaking as a business person in the resolution industry is one of the best ways that you can grow your practice. You don't have to do that, though. And I'll say that it's easier to start behind a podium than on Zoom. This is by far the most difficult venue to be the public speaker because I can't see everyone's faces. I can't hear you. I can't see your eyebrows knit when you're confused by something I've said. There's really not the give and take that you get when you're in front of an audience. I don't know if you laugh at my jokes. I don't know if you're getting the message. I don't know if you're bored to tears. So Zoom is a really hard place to start. Start in person behind a podium and you'll get those skills really, really finely honed and then move on to giving programs like this online. Public speaking is one of my favorites. Now, when you're the public speaker, of course, you want to be sure that you update your bio, resume, CV. You want to be able to put this on your social media and on your website. So when you're the public speaker, you want to be able to make an announcement. Most groups will create the announcement, they'll send it to you, and you simply post it. But if you're the public speaker, be sure that you get credit where credit is due. Post it in advance, post the thank you note, put it on your bio, resume, CV, post the video to your website, put it up on social media. Make sure that you're really getting all the leverage you can from being the public speaker. The same is going to be true for writing or for training. So if you get your article published, then you want to put it on your website, put it on your bio, resume, CV, post it on your social media. Make sure that everyone knows that you are so highly thought of that someone published your thoughts and ideas. And for our industry, the kind of writing that we're talking about, it's not a white paper. It could be research if that's what you want to do, but for most of us, it's going to be an opinion piece. And the opinion pieces are anywhere from 1,500 to 2,500 words. Most periodicals plan well in advance what their production or publication calendar is going to be. You can connect with that person inside all of these associations and organizations and ask them what their publication calendar looks like. Let them know that you've got an article or articles that you'd like for them to consider. And also let them know that because they're already pre-written, that if there's ever an author who can't meet a deadline, that they should feel free to use your articles instead. Right? And writing, again, it's one of those things that stays on your website, stays on your social media. It's a fantastic asset to have. So writing, you just use the pitch package once again, and you put forward your ideas and you communicate with folks. Training is similar. And I know that when I say that you should train people, it seems a little counterintuitive. You know, the response is like, well, why would I want to train somebody else in mediation skills? I want to be the mediator. I don't want to train up my competition, but you're way ahead in the education of ADR skills. So when you offer a training, it doesn't have to be to replace us. The training could be how to handle these situations, how to use verbal judo, how to appropriately intercede and refer them to a professional, how to handle issues before they become disputes. So it could be proactive, preventative communication. One of the best books that is an example of this kind of training is by George C. Thompson. He wrote a book called Verbal Judo. He does hostage negotiation trainings. He trains up police forces around the world. And in his book, it's a short, easy read. He provides you the 12, he calls them swords of insertion, ways in which you can communicate with people and get the momentum going in the direction that you need it to go so that you can help people find that durable, reasonable resolution. That's the kind of training that we're talking about. It isn't necessarily to replace us as the mediator. It's to train them about how to manage situations that are just heated or just issues before they become a dispute, and then how to best use us and the systems and the processes that we can offer. Right? So that's the kind of training. You could do corporate training, you could do trainings for law firms, you could do all different kinds of trainings, but that's what we're looking at for training. And again, it goes on your website, it goes on your social media, you put it on your bio, resume, CV, and really use it as that asset that it is, because it's an evergreen asset. So writing, speaking, training, networking, those are absolutely key. Those are the kinds of things that you sort of need to think about in advance. What's your comfort level? What are you willing to do? How comfortable are you with it? How far outside your comfort zone are you willing to go, right? All of these things are, to some degree, just necessary to build a business, right? It's just entrepreneurship. And I think that that's a really important thing to understand, is that we are first and foremost building a business. We happen to specialize in the resolution processes, but we're business people. We're entrepreneurs. That's what we do. And when you look at your practice as a business, you will see things differently than when you look at your practice as a mediator or an arbitrator or an ombudsperson. So think first as an entrepreneur, think first as a business person. Buy business books, buy marketing books, attend seminars like this, watch those videos on YouTube, and you'll see that the mindset is really, really important. Now, let's talk about some of the foundational pieces that you need. I've been mentioning a website. You do absolutely, positively, without a doubt, have to have a website. It doesn't have to be huge, deep, enormous, highly detailed website. We use what are called microsites. They're 2, 3, maybe 4 pages in length. This is essentially the digital ambassador of who you are, what you do, how you do it. This is your online bio, resume, CV. And on your website, you want to describe your processes and how they help your clients, your people. So that, again, that level of connectivity is what you're looking for. You want to be sure that your website says, however you want to phrase it, I get you, I understand you, and these are the ways that I can best help you. So that's what a website is for us. You probably should go ahead and hire someone if you're not comfortable building your own. Most of us, though, have the skill set to use a smartphone, and there are platforms like Squarespace or Wix, and you can definitely build your own website, set up your own email address. If that's way outside your comfort zone, then you want to hire a professional to do a website for you. You don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but you also don't want to use your next door neighbor's great nephew to build your website. It does need to be professional. So get a solid website. Again, one of the things you might want to think about, depending on your practice, is having a Google My Business. So whatever name you've chosen for your practice, you can set up a Google My Business. It's easy, it's free, it takes just a few minutes. And the name, let's talk about that for a second. The name that you choose for your practice. If you, as you're sitting down at the beginning of the business building, think that, you just want to mediate some cases for the next 15, 20, 30 years. And then when you're done with your practice, you'll shred your documents, turn off the lights, and just say thank you. If, though, you're building a business with the intent to sell it, to harvest it when you're done, if you're going to build up a book of business, if you're going to bring in associates or co-mediators, that's going to be a little bit different. In which case, the name of your practice needs to be something that is more corporate and less about you. But if you're going to build your practice entirely around you, your background, your experiences, you can definitely name your practice after yourself. Naval, you've got your hand up. Is there a question I can answer for you?
Oh, thank you so much. I was wondering if you could put in chat. You said that that directory is called directory. I didn't get the rest of that directory that you can send them a little small letter or.
Sure, it's directoryofassociations.com.
Okay.
And there are thousands and thousands of associations and organizations listed there. You can sort them by industry specialty. You can sort them by geography. You can sort them by size. It is an absolute, it's the king of resources.
Okay.
For
And it's
associations and organizations, right?
Okay. For mediation though?
That you can find mediation associations and organizations, you can find legal associations and organizations, real estate, accounting, pick any industry at all, and you'll find them there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome very much. So you've got your website. You've got it all lined out. It speaks directly to the people, explaining, that they're in the right place. And then it explains who you are, what you do, how you do it. It's a very basic, very simple website that you can absolutely build on your own or find somebody to help you with. The other thing that you need to have as a foundational piece is exactly what Naval and I were just talking about, and that's a database. You can use any format you like, recipe cards in a shoebox, an Excel spreadsheet, a table in Word, however you want to keep things. You could use Outlook, you can use Google, you choose what you're comfortable with, but you need to have a database of those people that you already know, the people most likely to hire you or refer cases to you. That's column 1. Column 2 is going to be the list of people that you would like to have as clients. It doesn't have to be a specific person, although that's the best, but maybe it is simply the members of Inland Empire Bar Association or California Bar Association or CALA or any of them, right? So you want that second column to be the list of people that you'd like to be connected with. And then in the third column, that's the column that we were just talking about. And that's the column of associations and organizations. That's the column that you want to build out for potential speaking gigs, getting your article published, networking within. So that's the column of all of those associations and organizations, so that you have something tangible that you can look at and say, I know a lot of people, I need to know more people, I need to be involved in these organizations. And the organizations that are for us are absolutely great. Southern California Mediation Center, fabulous group. Join them, but that's for our support. For business building, you want to belong to the organizations and network within the organizations, be involved in, sit on their boards of directors, help them with their silent auctions, go to all of the events. You want to spend most of your time in those organizations that are comprised of the individuals most likely to hire us. And that's where the directory of associations is really valuable. Sure, we love when you join Southern California Mediation Association or the ABA's section for dispute resolution. Absolutely. That keeps you up to date about what's happening with us. But you really want to, as a business person, concentrate most of your time in the other organizations. So you've got your database, you've got your website, you've thought a little bit about what you want your practice to look like, a name. Maybe you've given some thought as to the legal definition of your business. Is it a DBA? Is it a corporation? What kind of corporation should it be? You've opened a bank account. All of those things that business people have to do to start a business, you've got that well in hand. Now, think about your social media platform. And your social media platform, again, depending on your audience, will be kind of bifurcated. It's LinkedIn for business, so lawyers, business people, and then Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, that's for the general public. And on your social media, regardless of platform, you are going to have what is called an avatar on the platform, and that's the little round photograph of you. And you want to be sure that this little round photograph of you looks like you look now. So for example, I wouldn't post a photograph of my high school graduation photo or me sitting on a beach playing with my dog. These photographs need to look like you look at work, so that when people come to a Zoom meeting or they come into your mediation rooms or they come into your ombuds office, they see you, they recognize you, and they say, oh, there's Susan. I know who I'm looking for. She's a familiar face. That matches. You don't want to create any cognitive dissonance between an old or outdated avatar and what you look like when you walk into your rooms. So that's your avatar. On every social media platform, there's the banner that goes behind your avatar. And this is really valuable real estate. So don't let it just go to the default. Everyone can log on, and for free, you can get a Canva account, CANVA. Go to canva.com. You can get a free account and create these kinds of graphics, edit videos, create your posts, etc. For $15 a month, though, you can get a professional account that lets you create really dynamic posts. You get a lot more photographs, you get video, you get music, you can record, you can even set up your website on canva.com. So that's a really great resource, canva.com. I use it for myself. I use it for all of my clients. So just log on to Canva. It's a little bit like coloring book for adults, less like you have to be a graphic artist or a graphic designer. It's very intuitive, it's drag and drop. And on YouTube, there are tons of tutorial videos that will teach you how to use Canva. Meager, am I pronouncing that correctly?
You did. Thank you, Natalie. You absolutely got it right. So first of all, thank you for your very informative information tonight. I've already sent you a message on LinkedIn, so requesting the information that you mentioned earlier. So thank you. The one thing that I would like to ask you, so I'm in the state of Florida. I'm currently on active duty in the military and one of Professor Valerie's students in the NCR program. And so I'll be retiring soon. And I do have a mediation practice here in the state of Florida. I wanted to get your thoughts on the competitiveness. I'm in the initial stages of my business, but the lawyers here in the state of Florida, seem to have flooded the ADR practice because it's quick, it's down and dirty, it pays well. And, talking to a few lawyer friends of mine, they don't have to see the people anymore afterwards. And so what are your thoughts on the competitiveness, or are you seeing that in your particular area as far as trying to carve out your niche and competing with the attorneys who've chosen ADR?
Sure. First, thanks very much for your service.
You're welcome.
That's much appreciated. I come from a military family. My son-in-law's military, cousins, uncles, all the way back to before the United States was the United States. Good for you. Thanks. So in Florida in particular, you're right. There's a lot of competition. Excuse me. So generally speaking, my advice to clients is to create an even tighter niche. The reason is because, especially highlighted by COVID, borders don't really make that much difference anymore. So you can have a mediation practice as specific as you want it to be. It means that you expand your geography. So the tighter your practice niche, the larger your geography can be. So Meager, you could build a practice on anything that really moves you. So you could work within the military, you could work for government, you could work for municipalities. You could mediate just those cases that arise from pre-wedding disputes with the photographers and the caterers and the cake bakers and the dressmakers, and disputes between future mothers-in-law and bridesmaids. You could be really specific in your practice design. And generally, again, the tighter your niche, the further you go geographically, but also the tighter your niche, the more you can charge for your services. And so that's how you can compete against the larger big law general practitioner mediators in your neck of the woods. So you think about, maybe you are very athletic, you love sports. The sports world really loves mediation and arbitration. Focus just on those kinds of disputes, right? So pick and choose the kinds of conversations that you want to have all day, every day. Pick your people. What do you love? What do you want to hear? What do you want to talk about? Who are the people that you want to help? Tighter the niche, the larger the geography. Does that help you at all?
That is perfect. And thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And on all of these things, again, we'll go back to social media. Pointing out to your potential target market via social media that you're the exact right person to hear those kinds of cases. And the idea behind being present on social media is the idea that you stay top of mind. So on social media, this isn't advertising, this isn't pay-per-click. This is a regular, consistent reminder. This is Marquita, this is what she does, this is how she does it. And you don't necessarily have to talk about yourself. You get the marketing vig because you're the one making the post. So it could be an inspirational quote. It could be a link to an article. It could be a link to a video. It could be a link to anything that you think is valuable for your people to have, something that's beneficial to them. You can post about that. You can post once a week, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, twice a day, 5 times a day, whatever you want to do. And if you get the professional level of Canva, it comes with a content planner. So you could sit down, spend 1 half day and plan out a week's worth of social media posts. Done and dusted. It's the easiest thing to do. Susan, you've got a question for me?
I do. We were talking earlier about making sure that you tighten your niche, which I think is good advice anywhere you are. I like that. Does that mean there are 3 areas that I personally have an interest in and would be interested in working in all 3 of the areas, but they're very specific areas. And would that not be the best approach? Do I need to narrow it down to one? Or in my description of what I do, could I have all 3 of them in there? For
Depends
example,
on, yes.
one of them is community, one of them is schools, one of them is churches.
Those fit together really, really nicely. So they're sort of kissing cousins. There's an overlap there. They dovetail nicely one to the other. And so you can absolutely have those three groups as specialties, as practice niches, because they complement each other. What you wouldn't want to do, the bad example would be, Susan, if you created a practice wherein you hear water intrusion cases, gum manufacturing cases, and child custody cases. They're too disparate. But the kind of practice that you're talking about, they all complement one and another. They dovetail really nicely. The conversation will be similar. The personalities of the people in those groups will be similar. So that's a really good example of having a very tight practice niche, but you've specifically targeted three particular groups that fall within that niche. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to social media, you can remind people. So Susan could make a post about community. She could make a post about church. She could make a post about private religious schools and their conflicts. She could make a post about all of those kinds of things once a day, once every other day, once a week, however she sees fit. But in your profile, you want to be sure that you've got your name, right? So you put your name, and then there's always a space for title. And in that title, what you don't want to do is get too terribly clever, because you're then not searchable. You want to say very specifically in your title, Susan Grayson, mediator for communities, churches, right? So you want to be specific. You don't want to use emojis. You don't want to say things like rock star mediator. Those are not searchable, and they don't really lend to you being a credible authority in those situations. This is business. You want to put forward a business voice and a business mind. That doesn't mean it has to be insensitive or cold or distant, but it needs to be clear and brief. Also, for most of us on our social media, because we're not being represented by an entity, we want to put our social media posts in the first person, not the third person. So imagine if Renata and I meet at a conference, and I start talking about myself in third person. Hi, this is Natalie Armstrong Motin. Natalie was educated here. I mean, it's weird. It's off-putting. So in all of your posts and in all of your profiles and all of the writing that you do about yourself on your websites, etc., you want to use first person. First person encourages that connectivity. It encourages people to have the sense that they've had an interaction with a real person, not just some marketing person's version of your bio, resume, CV. Also, depending on your target market, you want to use kitchen English, right? You want to use the language that they're comfortable with, that they're familiar with. If your primary target market is big law, then the language can be a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more stilted, because that's a much more sophisticated client. So think about the kind of language, the kind of tone, the kind of personality that you want to put forward in all of these pieces. And then again, social media, it's all about consistency and tenacity. It's called top of mind. And the reason it's so important is because of social proofing, and we all do it. You know, I did it just the other day. I opened up Google and I said pest control near me. And then I look for all of those people that have active websites, their blogs are current, they've got videos on YouTube, they're active on social media. I'm looking for the most professional person that I can find. I don't necessarily study all of that, but it definitely makes an impact on the choice that I make for the person that I'm going to call. And the same is going to be true for you and your mediation services. So having the ability to provide a potential client with the social proof that you're a professional, you're well-trained, this isn't just a hobby, you take it very seriously, this is your job. And that social proofing is really why you want to have all of these kinds of things. There are a few things that we don't do in our industry. They're just considered bad form. I mentioned advertising and pay-per-click, those kinds of things. Again, there's an exception because it's always a mediator's answer, and it depends. If you're dealing with unrepresented clients, the general public, you might want to experiment a little bit and see if Facebook ads work for you, or if putting up a banner ad on TikTok would work for you, or Google pay-per-click ads would work for you. In which case, I would recommend that you find a professional person to work with, because these can get really compound, really complex, really quickly. They also burn through a budget really fast. They can be very expensive. So, but you can do that. Renata, do you have a question for me?
Sorry, I got a lot of traffic in the background, somebody's speeding. And it's not a question, I just really want to thank you. I know the students were probably tired of hearing me say it, but I keep telling them, you know, use LinkedIn, use social media, highlight the work that you do, what you're working on, you know, what you're feeling about, you know, that project, or who you're connected with, or, you know, what activities you were involved in. It's letting people know, one, I think that I am a professional, and this is me doing what I do, and this is what I love doing. I can't tell you how many job offers I've had just from posting on LinkedIn, not to say this is all about me, but I'm so happy to share. For me, it's a moment of celebration. You know, the work that the students do, the projects we're working on. And so I just really want to say thank you, because sometimes I feel like they don't hear me when I say it. Even my own kids don't hear me when I say it. But thank you.
You're very welcome. I understand completely. I know that the sound of my voice creates a chemical in my kids' brains that blocks out the sound of my voice. I know that's true. So, well, we've got just a few minutes. So I want to wrap up with using technology. And technology can be a great friend. You can use online calendaring. You can have a podcast. It's very easy to create a podcast. On LinkedIn, you can create an audio event. You can have a newsletter. You can do live videos. It's free to start a YouTube channel. You can open Zoom. I know you all have the technology because you're all here, so there's no excuse. You can create a video channel. You can create a podcast. You can share it on your social media. And the reason that that's so important is because then people can see your face. They hear your voice. They get an introduction to you. So when you're not out networking, they get to have that interaction with you. Even though it's unilateral, they get to start having that relationship with you. You can do short videos, 60 seconds, 2 minutes. You can do Instagram. You can do YouTube shorts. You can have a podcast, bring on guests, talk to them about their issues, their concerns, their disputes. How do they resolve them? You can have plaintiff side, defense side. You can bring everybody into the conversation. All those stakeholders can come talk to you in your podcast or your video. So technology is great. And I love technology. I'm a little bit of a geek, love technology, but it doesn't replace good customer service. So when someone calls you and they want to talk to you about the resolution processes that you offer, be sure that you're giving them top-notch customer service. This is a service industry. We're not the courts. We're not the default. And it's imperative that they get great service from you right from first phone call. So again, going back to your foundational pieces, make sure your forms are in order. Make sure you're clear, you're brief, your fees are transparent, your policies and procedures, easy to follow, they're transparent. That kind of customer service is really, really important. So we've got just a few minutes left. I've left these few minutes for you to ask a question. And if not, gosh, that's the information that I wanted to impart to you. Yes, Novel, what can I help you with?
Yes, so I think you said it, what I was going to ask you. So I know earlier you said we can use LinkedIn for business, I think you said, and then TikTok and YouTube and Instagram for like just to advertise our business. Is that what you said? And just LinkedIn for more like business. Can you just go over that? Because I kind of missed that, what you said, use LinkedIn, how to use LinkedIn.
Sure. So LinkedIn is business. Right. So again, this isn't the place where you post about your kids and your grandkids and your dog. These are business people looking at business posts. So that's business. But if you want to talk to the general public and help them understand what we do and how we can help them, then it's going to be Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. For both of those groups, you can definitely use a podcast or a YouTube channel. So in that way, you're not trying to, talk to everybody on every platform all the time. That's a big ask. And for most of my clients, that's too much to ask. It's frustrating. It's not satisfying. They spend lots of time on it. So it's better to choose the one platform that you think is going to really work for you and really give it a good go. Give it the old college try before you let it go and switch over to another platform.
And what did you say about YouTube again? Did you say something about YouTube?
Yeah, having a YouTube channel, the only thing that you need to do to have a YouTube channel is a Gmail account. It's free. So you open a Gmail account if you don't already have one, log in, sign in on YouTube, and start my channel. You just start my channel. That's all that you do. It's under your avatar when you sign in on YouTube, and you can create your own channel. Go to Canva, you can create the background. You can use Canva to record the videos, or Zoom, record the videos. If you're using a PC, there's an app on almost all iOS PC users. You've got iMovie for Mac users. On a PC, there's an app called Clipchamp. You can record using Clipchamp. You can edit your videos. You can put in music. You can have the intro videos, the outro videos. You can put in headlines, graphics. You can even put in the bottom 1/3 screen, the Chiron that news channels use most often. And all of these platforms have a template. You can just use the template.
So with the YouTube,
Mhm.
you mean that could be like your own channel and you can talk about anything like Facebook or TikTok on there? Or does
Anything
it
you
have to
want.
be business?
Well, you could talk about anything you want to talk about, but it should instill in the viewer some benefit about you or your practice or the resolution industry or the processes. So you need to tie it in some way, shape, or form back to you, back to your practice, or back to the processes or our industry as a whole. You look at my YouTube channel. I post Marketing Mondays. There are shorts. I post Will Work for Food. I post the Idle Chats for the American Bar Association. So there's a wide variety of videos, but when they all come home at night, they're about the resolution industry.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. It was a great pleasure being your speaker today. Thanks for having me. I really enjoy this time. Are there
Natalie,
any?
I just want to say thank you very much. I appreciated your presentation. I am probably one of the, I have my practice. I started my practice almost a couple of years ago now, I guess. And I'm probably one of the social media holdouts. I tell people I'm a pocket listing. You got to know I'm here. And yes, I've heard Renata. Yes. She's told I don't see Marquia on my social media. I don't see you. It's like I do have a LinkedIn, but I'm not that active on it. But yes, but so I hear you.
Today might be the day to change that.
I'm a pocket listing. I'm exclusive.
Nothing wrong with being exclusive, but you got to let people know that you're exclusive.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. Is there anything else I can answer for anybody?
Meager has
Well, I
his
just
hand.
wanted to say thank you for the presentation. It was very helpful.
Oh, you're more than welcome. It is absolutely my pleasure. I wish you all nothing but success. And if you have any questions, any concerns, any requests, reach out to me on LinkedIn or on my website, and I'm happy to follow up with you.
Okay, Meager, you have a question? Or you put
I
your
I
hand-
did not.
posted-
It was, my hand was still up from earlier.
Oh.
My apologies. I lowered it.
Okay,
I posted a link for you in chat.
For the Will Work for Food, I saw that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Again, it was absolutely a pleasure. I look forward to staying in touch.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Well, I hope that this was worth your hour. And Marquita, I should see you on LinkedIn tomorrow. Susan,
I actually have a LinkedIn page. I just,
no,
you
no,
know.
no, active page,
Yeah,
active.
it's like there's one there, I think. It probably still has me as
One
probably still
there
has
is not the same as you promoting, and I know it's sort of a different mindset for us
it
to
is.
say, let people know what I'm doing, right?
It is.
But if you don't let them know, who else will let them know?
I know. I'm a word of mouth.
Word of mouth is an excellent way
And I'm a really
to
good
build
networker. I mean,
clientele.
yeah, I'm really good networking because it's probably not a day that anytime I'm out, I always somehow I manage to give out a card. You know, and I mean I manage to have that, make that connection. So I'm really good at that networking piece. I'm really good at that. Because I think that particularly in my niche with the forgiveness and the diversity, you know, the things that I like, and the conflict coaching, that always captures them. And so it gives me an opportunity to have that conversation, right? And I can start off by saying, well, forgiveness, what is that? Once they say that, I know I've got them, right? And so I love the networking piece. You know, I love writing and speaking, you know, I like to do all of that as well. So it's just that I don't have the social media piece down yet. That's it.
You know what? It's like, okay, I used
Could
to
I,
ride
could I, oh,
a tricycle, then you elevate up to, sort of your, what is it, your 10 speed, then you elevate up to your mountain bike, and you keep going. Okay, so now something you elevate up a little bit, Makita, a little bit.
could I say something, please?
Mhm.
Could I would like to contact you, Marquita, just to share some things with you, or you can share some things with me. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely. Here.
right.
I'll put my number in the chat here.
Okay, great.
I
Thank
can do
you.
that. Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
Hey,
appreciate that.
Professor.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, I would
Yeah.
like to make a brief comment and offer some advice there, Ms. Campbell.
Sure.
Great on you.
Marquita.
Yeah, I'm formal. I'm sorry. That's just me. Yeah, ma'am, Marquita. So I would offer that, the question I always have, just being an entrepreneur myself is it about the money for you or the passion regarding what you do? And if you're looking to grow and expand your business, of course, social media is definitely a way to do that. It's powerful. And I get the hesitancy because I am also very hesitant to do anything on social media just based on what I do in the military. So I'm very,
Exactly.
very restrictive about that, and I'm a private person. However, if the business model in today's business competitive environment, especially if you're looking to broaden your horizon and capitalize on from a financial perspective, or just reaching the demographic more so, I think what Natalie mentioned tonight was perfect for me. She gave me a couple of things that I hadn't thought about as far as being able to capture, demographic on a large scale. So something to consider. And just listening to what your business or your model entails for mediation, I'm captivated by it. So just something to consider. And I wish you well with that. And my prayers to you.
I appreciate that so very much. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for your service as well too. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a blue family and military as well, so we got all that going on. So I appreciate
That's awesome. Navy here.
Navy here.
Yeah.
Navy here, absolutely.
But one of the things I thought, Natalie touched on, which is what we're kind of circling on in community and conflict, is you've got to go where the community lives. So, for example, one of our students in his community, the issue is, the community would like to see more bicycle paths, but also, safety. How do you protect the cyclists? And so part of their task is, who would you go talk to really kind of build your support for, getting those safe bicycle paths or extending the paths. And Natalie referenced that when she said, you've got to go to places to meet people. So if you're doing what you do, Marquita, mindfulness and forgiveness, so some of the places you might look at, studios or organizations that do yoga practices, they
Mhm.
are spiritually grounded, like the Native American Council up in Ojai. They have this whole council training mindfulness program. Those are the people that you reach out because you have an alignment with them.
My spas, I'm connected to some of the local spas and things like that.
Yeah,
And we're
wellness
talking about
spas.
creating wellness spas. We're creating programs and that whole thing. The other thing that she's talked about that I thought we could expand on a little bit more is just to be more involved in your community, period. Be more visible in the community, just to be visible, in the community.
Yes.
Be
And
available, yes.
the other piece, and I hope nobody just kind of glosses over it, is you've got to be connected to these organizations.
Mhm.
You got to get on boards. You've got to
She
get on
said that, yeah.
committees.
That's what made me think of
I
that.
mean,
It's like, yeah.
my history with DG. I just
Oh, yeah.
work with NAFCM, the work
Mhm.
that I've been able to do nationally.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, so you like working? Yes, okay, come over here, show us what you
Mhm. Mhm.
but it's building those relationships with your peers.
Mhm.
And they won't know who Meager is, who Marquita is, who Navo is, if they don't get to know you personally.
Mhm. And what we do complements so many things. I mean, oh my gosh, I'm so fully aware of you can have as much work as you possibly can handle, or you could just, or as little, because if you can just look at it in a certain way, if you can just understand that the link, the connection that we have to so many pieces, just so many places that is just
And you know
invaluable.
what amazes me is that everyone thinks that community mediation is so narrow.
Mm-mm.
It is so wide, the depth and breadth of work that community mediators can do. Yes, we can go in a courtroom and do, small claims cases, but we can also go and work in a housing situation. We can go and work in a health environment. We could go work in an organization like you. We could go work in churches or wellness centers.
Churches,
Wherever
schools,
community lives, community
the,
is everywhere.
the
And
schools,
so people
yeah.
think, oh, community mediators, you guys only do, noise and dog barking. No, we don't. It's very, very broad. Environmental disputes. One of the things they're looking at now is bringing in more people, more practitioners of color to the EPA and to do a lot of coalition building. Some of the, communities we've heard over the last year that are dealing with really horrible environmental issues, water issues, things like that. But what they're finding is it is these marginalized, underserved communities that people who are not people of color can't just walk in. They can't fit in. So they're like, oh, how do we change that? How do we create this equity? How do we address and support this community? Well, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes people need to see people who look like them. They need to feel like there's a connection between that person's coming into that community. It's not all the time, but it's certain circumstances. And what they're finding is with the environmental issues is that there's a need because the others are not being received.
Oh, that's
Well,
wild.
at all.
The EPA. I was a ghostwriter for them in college.
Oh, really?
For the Federal Register. No.
Yeah, they're getting ready
Yes,
to.
wow.
Well, they've already created an ad hoc committee, and then they want to, develop criteria
Interesting.
for who qualifies to come in. But they really need practitioners of color because they're hoping that we'll be able to go into communities that other folks just haven't had a level of success at working with those communities. So, yeah, I mean, again, mediation is just so broad, especially community. It just makes my skin crawl when people say, oh, you guys just do dog barking and neighbor disputes. No.
Not even close.
No, yeah.
Not even close.
Yes.
So I just got finished taking a mediation class with OC, and so I don't know much about mediation. So like I listened to you and Marquita
Mhm.
talk about mediation. Do you have to have two people? Like when you say you could do this for the community, you could do this for this organization. So when we go on social media and advertise ourselves, uh, do we? I thought we had to get the cases from court first. How does he put it all together? I don't even understand what.
So there's different ways that you can access cases. With Orange County, their direct link is through the court.
Okay.
In other community mediation settings, it may be a referral process through a community-based organization. It may be a referral process through law enforcement. It may be a referral process if you're mediating, say, for example, restorative justice. Those referrals may come from the school. So it just depends on your population,
Okay.
and those referrals will come to you from different sources.
But do you have to work with like a co-mediator? Because if you're advertising yourself to get into your own practice, do you have to, we practice with like another mediator, 3 and 4 mediators. So how do we do it ourselves, or how does it work?
So
Can I say? Can I say one quick thing here?
sure.
Hey, you're talking about you have to have two people. If you're doing mediations, yeah, you have separate. You have two parties. What I do a lot of conflict resolution coaching, dispute resolution coaching.
Okay.
So that's a one-on-one kind of a thing. See, that's another aspect of it, And
Conflict
so,
resolution?
dispute resolution,
Coaching.
however you want to say that, yes, but I'm coaching. So it's a one-on-one. I don't have to have two parties. Sometimes I may have another party that comes in, but I start with one party, or one party brings, I'm helping them navigate through the situation so that they can handle their own conflict themselves. Or then sometimes another person will come in with me, with them as well. And now I have a different setup. But when you talk about what it looks like, you can be a mediator and do that, or facilitator, however you want to do that, or you can do it one-on-one and do dispute resolution coaching as well.
Resolution coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I know.
And,
Yeah,
if you're, I know the way OC has it set up, you guys co-mediate. But when you're a private practitioner, you can do, like Marquita said, you can decide that you want to mediate between two parties. Or say you have a mediation and only one party shows up. That's where you do the conflict coaching. And I do coaching just a little bit different. I always do coaching before I bring the parties together. I'm always gonna meet with them one-on-one, so
Absolutely.
I can prep them for one, how to regulate their emotions, because they are going to get triggered. How best to communicate when they hear something that may trigger them, and how to convey what they need, how to frame it so that the other person understands that this is a need that has to be met.
Yeah, I did that as well.
Also, to help them identify what's your bottom line. But it's absolutely the last tier that you are not going to go beyond.
That's
So,
right.
getting them ready for the process before they go into the process will save us, I think, practitioners, a lot of stress. Letting them know how this works. And then on the other side of that, when I get to work with organizations, I do exactly what Marquita is talking about with, mid-level managers. They may have a specific problem, and so it's not my job to figure out how they respond to their problem, but it's to talk through strategies. How would you like to address this? What do you think you can do? We do check-ins throughout the week, to see how they're going. Maybe we have to make some adjustments, but it's really the conflict coaching is really to help increase that that mid-level manager or that staff person's conflict management intelligence, how to navigate conflict. So one, that they don't burn themselves out. They don't burn bridges with people they need to maintain relationships with, and that they become more effective managers when conflict arises. So, I mean, there's so many different avenues for practitioners to take. One of the things I think we do a terrible job at is we don't promote that. people hear mediators and that's all they think, is that we just are conflict resolvers. And if you ever go on my LinkedIn page, I'm like, we're conflict resolvers, we're peacemakers, we're facilitators, we're system allies, we're coaches. There's so many different paths, but we don't do, and when I say we, I'm talking about the larger field, we don't do a good job at promoting how our skills can be used
Mhm.
and the different career paths we could take.
Yeah. And that's what creates your niche. That's where your niche comes from, because, every one of us are uniquely positioned in with our life experiences and our passions and now our skill sets. If you have once you get your degree, you have your skill sets. And so that's what makes you unique. Nobody can do what I'm going to do. The client that Renata will get is not necessarily the same one I will get, and vice versa. Or it might be, but it's the approach, it's the styling, it's the niche. That's how you become who you are. So I used to worry about that competition piece too with the lawyer mediators and the whole bit, but I don't anymore, because who I am and what I bring is what I bring. And if you need an array of alphabets after your name, I have some alphabets. I may not have if you want all of that, that's okay. I'm okay with that. But if you want what I bring, when we connect, if you want what I bring, because I'm confident in what I bring, then that's what we do. So yeah, your niche is you.
This has been very informative for me, Professor. I know we've talked. The one thing that I will say is I'm really interested in the state of California, being that I plan to retire here in Florida. I will say that the unique thing about Florida is that it is, I know Marquita, you mentioned the lawyers, and unfortunately, the state of Florida has the restrictions and just compliance with mediation is over the top. It is a attorney dominated state, period, to begin with. And in mediation, they found themselves a nice home there. And again, so I plan to compete against them. One of the things that I have working for me is that I do have a law degree, but I'm not a practicing attorney. And so I'm trying to figure out how to leverage that as well. But I love what I'm hearing here, because, working with Professor and Scott, the one thing that, there's so many opportunities that seem like they're available in the state of California. And they make sense to me, more so than the state of Florida. And because it is what it is. Like, you cannot do some of the things that you all are talking about as far as because they loop everything under the guise of mediation. So if you were to go and then everything predominantly is done through the court system. So for example, I mediate family and civil circuit, but it's all through the court system. And then any other pro se clients are typically those who make less than 100,000 a year. And then you get your pro bono work, but it's who you know. So and how you do it. So I love the idea of the niche. I'm looking at maritime mediation myself personally, but you all have discussed a whole bunch of other the conflict negotiation, the design teams, and just trying to bring some of that stuff to the state of Florida and into some of the communities here. It's going to be an interesting challenge, but what I really want to do is, Professor, is be able to leverage, your insight and others here on how to, certify it in the state of California, if at all that's possible. And then what I offer is, anything that I can do to network with you all, the folks that are here tonight, as far as business strategies, et cetera. I'm all in. So this has been a wonderful networking opportunity for me, and just learning from you all tonight. So,
well, Meager, I can tell you are so far ahead of most of the students, because you already have that mediation experience. Under California law, in terms of the licensing requirement, all you need is 10 cases. And I know you've done over 10. You've probably done over 100. So you have the 10 cases. You have several degrees, which it's regulated on a point system. So your JD is going to give you, the maximum points. Then you're going to get points for the work you're doing with designing. You're going to get points for facilitating. You definitely will get points, and I'm glad Natalie talked about it again. You've got to get connected to some of these organizations. You get points for your connection to professional organizations. They want to see that. Some of the other things that you will get points for is, you know, writing. You know, do you have an article that's been published? Have you given a lecture, or have you done a workshop? You know, just again, some of the things now they talk about speaking engagements, writing engagements, those are some of the things that are required. But the one thing I can say for you, where I don't think you'll have any problem with meeting the licensing requirements here, is that you already have the mediation up under your belt. And most of our NCRP students, we don't have that. I mean, they have the facilitation, but for licensing in California, it has to be mediation.
Okay, thank you, Professor. I'm definitely going to look into that, because I see man, this has just been overwhelming for me tonight. And, you know, you all are doing some wonderful things, and it's just, ideas are abundant now. Each time I'm involved in something with Professor, it's you know, I leave with a list of things that excite me. So I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I can tell you, there's going to be some changes in terms of community mediation work coming to Florida. I'm working with 2 organizations. They'll be providing services, mediation, community mediation services, working specifically with you, and then a startup community mediation program
Very nice.
Oh, wow.
that is coming to Florida. They got funded by the JAM Foundation. And so they said the same thing you said. It's like, you don't understand Florida. It's a different animal. But I heard that today too about Tennessee. You know, it's like, how come you guys are here and we're there? Like apples and oranges, you know, it really comes down to your leadership and the culture. And that's what you're kind of dealing with, Meager, is changing the culture.
And you can,
And that's a challenge.
and it's
Wow. Yeah,
possible,
I love it.
but know that it's possible.
Oh,
Know
absolutely.
that it's absolutely possible. Yes, we had I'm a member of one of my. I mentioned I was a forgiveness coach, and I'll say this, and I need to pop off really quickly. And so, one of my colleagues in the forgiveness arena, she's also an attorney, and I don't remember what state she's in, but she's now managed to get the court system to refer cases to clients to her to go through forgiveness training in the family court system, which is unheard of. You know, I think she's in Minnesota or someplace like that. So, you know, it's possible to make those changes. It really is. I've seen some really amazing things happen. So yeah,
Arizona
nice
just
to
did
meet you
something.
guys though. That novel and Meager and Renata, thank you as always, and good
You're
to see you.
welcome, Martina.
But I just need to pop off real quick. I've got a
It
call
was a
coming in.
pleasure. Thank you so
Yeah,
Thank
much,
same here,
you.
Martina.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
And
guys.
we'll
Professor.
see you guys as well. Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor.
Professor,
Well,
for putting
I
this
don't mean to end the
together.
session. I just have to pop off. You guys keep talking. You
Yeah,
know,
I've
I just
got to
have to
roll
go.
too. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
well, Ms.
Bye-bye.
Motin, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor, for putting this all together.
Oh, you're welcome. We have a guest speaker every month.
Okay. That's good to
Okay.
know. That's great to know. Will you, are you able to get in touch with us? Because I know Orange County sent me to this
Yeah,
notice.
we send it to Marco all the time.
Okay, great. Okay, good. I really appreciate that. So
Oh, you're
that was
welcome.
amazing, and I learned a lot, especially coming fresh out of class. You know, and so I don't know much about it at all. Although I am